The crisis at the border is allowing deadly amounts of fentanyl into the United States. The opioid crisis now the #1 cause of death in young adults and ripping families and communities apart. Our next guest says stopping this is not only up to the Biden administration. Montana Republican Senator Steve Daines says social media giants need to crack down on drug dealers who are using the platforms to target kids. And he took action this week. Senator Daines joins us now. Senator, thanks very much for being with us. The action that you took was to send a letter to the CEOs of Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Here's what you wrote in part, quote, criminal drug networks are mass-producing fentanyl-laced pills and exploiting the ongoing crisis at our southern border caused by President Biden's total inaction to smuggle thousands of pounds of fentanyl into our states. Social media platforms like yours provide a convenient venue for dealers to anonymously and discreetly peddle these counterfeit pills to a young audience. With 4 in 10 of these pills containing a lethal dose of fentanyl, more and more of these online transactions are ending in tragedy. First question I have for you, Senator, have you heard back from any of them yet?
Well, we haven't heard back yet, but as you stated, this is the leading cause of death for Americans 18 to 45, more so than suicides or traffic accidents. This is a national crisis. In fact, I brought along a little artificial sweetener. If this were fentanyl, it's enough fentanyl to kill 500 people in this one little packet. Our staff members this morning created a fictitious name and went online on one of these platforms. Within 5 minutes, they had a response offering them to sell these drugs from a drug dealer. In fact, I've got the screenshot right here. This was 5 minutes of being online. This is the response they got. So it's very, very easy to get. So we've got to have these social media companies step up their efforts here to take these sites down and then to coordinate with one another, because what happens is they bump around from site to site. They'll move around. They've got to coordinate this. This is absolutely a crisis. You heard those terrible stories of young people now. It just takes a couple of grains of fentanyl, like a couple of grains of salt. That's the equivalent deadly dose of fentanyl. So we're playing around with something that's so deadly, and our young people are getting them. It comes from Mexican cartels across the southern border to drug dealers and then to the social media platforms.
You know, Senator, so many times we have covered these tragic stories of a teenager who was looking for a pill to help them sleep, got fentanyl instead and died. And so many times it traces back to social media. And you think that these companies are so quick to restrict certain content on their platforms, yet they're not restricting this. It doesn't seem to make sense.
It doesn't. Why is so much time and effort spent on censoring conservative thought, stopping platforms here that promote center-right issues, and allow these drug dealers literally to be online preying on young people? Remember, this is a massive business. These Mexican cartels are making billions of dollars. Sadly, we're seeing this now as the leading cause of death for young people in the United States as we speak here today. It's got to stop. We need to have these social media companies coordinate, and it's got to be a full court press here focused on stopping these drug dealers from preying upon the young people of the United States.
So one of the big questions is, well, just how bad is this problem? According to the Centers for Disease Control and FoxNews.com, fentanyl deaths doubled in 30 states over the past 2 years. There were 107,000 drug deaths between November of 2020 and November of 2021. 66% of those deaths were from synthetic opioids. So this is a real crisis here now. And not only that, but these teenagers who go online looking for a high or looking for something to help them sleep or keep them awake, they don't know that the pill that they're getting could quite possibly kill them, because fentanyl is in literally everything these days.
John, there have been story after story of heartbroken parents telling the story about a child, for example, that tried to find Adderall. And what they found out is that Adderall they got online through a social media platform was laced with a little bit of fentanyl that's deadly. See, you don't overdose on fentanyl. You're poisoned by it because it takes such a small amount. Again, just a few grains of salt's equivalent lethal dose for fentanyl. This is something that we've not seen before in terms of how lethal it is, how dangerous it is, and why, as a nation, we've got to come together and get everybody on board here, including the social media companies, to put an end to this.
All right, Senator Steve Daines from the great state of Montana, thanks for coming on and highlighting this problem. Appreciate it.